Boatyard Safety by Capt Frank Lanier. While boaters are typically a cautious lot when it comes to safety on the water, many let their guard down once they're back ashore. This reduction in situational awareness is bad enough when doing something as mundane as driving to the grocery store, but it can be downright deadly when you're hauled or dealing with the unfamiliar, ever changing environment of a typical boatyard. Here are a few tips on how to navigate the treacherous shoal waters of boatyard projects and reach the end of your yard period with all body parts attached and in good working order. Safety basics. Accidents wait to claim the careless in every corner of a boatyard, from loose scaffolding and falling ladders to slippery floors and exposure to toxic chemicals, harmful dust, and even electrocution. While the potential hazards are real and plentiful, the vast majority are also avoidable by combining a proactive attitude towards safety with a healthy dose of common sense. First off, always wear appropriate personal safety equipment, such as safety glasses, goggles, face shields, earplugs, respirators, or dust masks, to name a few. This also includes wearing suitable footwear, no sandals, open-toed shoes, or canvas shoes, and avoid improper apparel such as loose-fitting clothing that might become snagged while climbing or entangled in power tools. Remove watches, rings, and other jewelry, particularly during electrical work, and of course, never work when you're ill, taking strong medication, fatigued, or while smoking or after consuming alcohol. Good housekeeping goes a long ways towards preventing accidents. Clean storage and work areas at the end of each day, and stow or organize project material and tools to prevent trip hazards. You'll also want to properly dispose of trash, oily rags, and other such items that could ignite under the right conditions. The best yards have electrical outlets at each work area. However, a more common sight is a daisy chain of mismatched extension cords knotted together in efforts to provide power from some distant outlet. Less is more in terms of how many extension cords should be used, while using larger gauge cords will provide better service, particularly if you have some distance to cover. Check that the boatyard outlets are three-pronged and are protected with GFCI, ground fault circuit interrupt. Surroundings within a boatyard are ever changing and require constant vigilance to avoid injury. Keep a weather eye out for safety hazards and plan for what if scenarios, such as keeping a hose or bucket of fresh water handy to rinse accidental spills or chemical splashes off skin or to flush eyes of sanding dust. Make sure your work area is properly lighted if working after dark, and keep a flashlight handy for those nocturnal forays into the bowels of the boatyard, where trip hazards and head-banging dangers lurk in every shadow. Know the location of the nearest fire extinguisher and first aid kit. It's also a good idea to have a list of emergency and after-hours contact numbers for boatyard staff. General tool safety. Most every hazard involving the use of tools can be prevented by following 5 basic safety rules. 1. Keep all tools in good condition by performing regular maintenance on them. 2. Use the proper tool for the job. 3. Examine every tool for damage before use. 4. Operate according to the manufacturer's instructions. And 5. Use proper protective equipment when using your tools. Modern power tools offer more power and adaptability than ever before. However, with enhanced tool performance comes additional responsibility, particularly with regards to safety. General power tool safety tips include the following. Don't use power tools in damp environments or explosive atmospheres. Verify that no electrical circuits, water pipes, fuel lines, or other items or systems are hidden behind bulkheads or other such areas prior to drilling or sawing. Disconnect tools when not in use, before servicing, and when changing accessories such as blades, bits, and cutters. Never remove or defeat guards, barriers, or other safety-related devices. And finally, repair or remove damaged power tools from use immediately. The most serious danger here is the possibility of electrocution. However, even a minor shock can lead to serious injury, such as the case of an unexpected spark or shock causing the user to fall from a ladder or other elevated work surface. Hand tools, such as screwdrivers, wrenches, hammers, are simpler than their power-driven cousins, but can still do some serious damage to careless operators. The greatest hazards posed by hand tools result from misuse or improper maintenance. Inspect all tools for proper operation and damage prior to use. Damage would include chisels with mushroomed heads or wooden handled tools with splinters or cracks. And always use the right tool for the job at hand. In other words, don't use that screwdriver as a chisel or a knife as a screwdriver. Ladders and scaffolding. Few boaters use ladders or scaffolding on a regular basis. However, while in the yard, you can expect to use one or the other on an almost daily basis. Falls from ladders and scaffolding rank high on the list of boatyard accidents, with the potential injuries ranging from sprains to death. Here's how to avoid becoming a statistic. Ladders. The two most commonly used ladders in the boatyard are step ladders, or A-frame, and straight or extension ladders. Both have specific safety requirements, which we'll discuss individually in a moment, but when using any ladder, consider the following. Always read the manufacturer's instructions, which contain both safety guidelines as well as the ladder's weight and height limits. Inspect the ladder before use. Ensure all parts are intact and that the rungs are clean and free of mud or grease. Wearing shoes with non-skid soles will also help prevent slips. Never climb a shaky ladder and always secure them in place prior to use. Have someone hold the ladder firmly until they are tied or secured in place. Ensure all ladders' feet are on a firm level surface, no boards or blocks, and always use a ladder tall enough for the job at hand. Many accidents occur from using a ladder that's too short. Avoid carrying tools or equipment while climbing a ladder. Instead, use a tool belt, a bucket, and a rope, or have someone hand the equipment to you. Face the ladder when climbing up and down, keeping your body centered between both side rails of the ladder. While using a ladder, keep your weight evenly distributed and don't overextend your reach. A good general rule is to never let your belt buckle pass the ladder sides. When using a step ladder, always ensure spreaders, the device that holds a step ladder in the open position, are completely open and locked prior to use. Avoid stepping or sitting on the top two steps and never climb the back of the ladder. It's also a bad idea to lean a step ladder against a hull or wall and use it as a straight ladder. With extension ladders, selecting the proper length is extremely important. Ensure the ladder extends at least 3 feet above the upper support area, such as the gunnel or railing when used for vessel access, and that the horizontal distance between the bottom or foot of the ladder and the support against which it's placed is equal to 1/4 the height of the ladder at the top point of support, which is shown in this accompanying illustration. For example, if the railing that the ladder will rest on, B, is 12 feet off the ground, then the foot of the ladder, A, should be 3 feet out. Scaffolding. The time spent in setting up scaffolding for major hull projects is easily justified in terms of safety and productivity. Most modern yards provide metal uprights for support of planks or scaffolding catwalks, typically aluminum frames with plywood overlays. And while these are safer than planks resting on wooden sawhorses, there are still safety requirements that must be adhered to prior to use. The first step is making sure the scaffolding is put together according to the manufacturer's instructions, to include guardrail systems along all open sides and ends of the platform and a safe, unobstructed means of access. Make sure that the scaffolding is plumb, square, and level, and if equipped with wheels, make sure that each is locked to prevent movement prior to use. Once in place, tie or otherwise secure catwalks and planks to prevent sliding. Check catwalks for damaged plywood and planks for saw cuts, fungus, dents, large knots, and splits, any of which can cause weakness and failure. Make sure that the planks extend over the end frame at least 10 inches, but no more than 12, to reduce the chances of the unwary cracking their heads on them while walking under them. Keep scaffolding clean and free of debris, and use ropes, ramps, and pulley arrangements to lift heavy objects from the ground up to the scaffolding. Lastly, don't use makeshift steps or ladders on scaffolding platforms to increase working height, and never use scaffolding or ladders during storms or high wind conditions.